Still sucks.
It's terrible.
Yeah,
Like,
it sucks that people do that, man.
That's a terrible person that would do that to someone else. Like, you're getting evicted and you're scamming some poor mother.
Yep.
It's crazy. So you have to know what the lot rents are and subtract those out and then put a cap rate on that. And the home income, they may use it towards your DSCR, they may not. But it's just extra income coming in.
The ability to say, I'm going to screw you and not pay you is probably also the person that would scam and steal from people.
So the community thought it was great.
That's awesome.
It was a very good introduction for us to the community because we're going to do a rent raise. So they're not going to be happy about it.
Right.
But we're showing that we actually care.
And I've spent a lot of money, man.
Right.
But guess what? The ROI I've gotten on that information is so significantly larger, it's insane.
But if I didn't take action right after that, it would have sat and then I would have got scared and cold feet and then probably never took action.
Welcome back to the Revamp Podcast. Today, super excited, got a great guest for you guys. If you are new here, make sure to like and subscribe. That helps me continue to bring on awesome guests. Like today, we got Karl Kulpak, who was a state police officer, right? And retired, right?
Yes,
to
that's
buy
correct.
some mobile home parks, man. So I want to dig into that.
Yes. So I was a Pennsylvania State Trooper for a little over 12 years and got into mobile home parks and started buying them and going ever since here.
So just to kind of dissect and break that down. So had you done any other like fix and flip, rentals, anything like that? Any basically smaller deals before you jumped right into mobile home parks?
Yes. So I bought my first rental in Westchester Borough as a twin in 2016. I bought that, thought I was going to live there, ended up renting it out. And that was my very first intro to real estate.
Nice. So what was that deal like?
So that was an on-market deal from the MLS. I had an agent that was looking for something that made sense in Westchester. I originally wanted a multi-unit in Westchester.
Okay.
But it ended up just making sense. I got this one. It was like a 5-bed, 2 full bath. It was a huge twin for the borough. And it had off-street parking with a garage. I was like, man, this thing is great for rentals because off-street parking is huge. Having that extra bathroom and just the amount of bedrooms was fantastic.
Yep.
So I ended up renting that thing out. I forget how much I was getting at the time, but it made maybe like $500 a month. And I thought that was fantastic because I didn't really put much down because I only put like 3% down at the time.
Okay.
And I would go and mow the grass every week. I was like, oh, this is great. I love, rentals. And then fixing things, you're like, okay, this is kind of cool. It's getting less cool as I keep fixing more things.
Doesn't seem as passive as what everybody
Right,
said.
yeah, it's not what the internet told me it was going to be, but it was still a great intro, and I did learn a lot from that project for sure.
So taking a step back even from there, what made you interested enough in buying a rental property in the first place?
My dad actually told me to go read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So he's like, you should read this book, check it out, let me know what you think. So I read that book and I was like, man, what have I been doing with my life? I got to change and I got to do something because I can only work so many hours as a cop. It's long hours, it's tough work, and you only can do so many of them before you are tired and you're not seeing your family. It's like, I'm not trading that time anymore. I got to do something more.
Yep, totally understand. Dude, it's the funniest thing. I think this is like 60 episodes of this podcast, and 60 times I've heard that the intro was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, myself included. It's the gateway drug for sure. So that's super cool. So what happened after that deal?
So I did that deal. I held that for probably 4 or 5 years. And then we'll see how this timeline works out, but I bought another rental that I did move into this one. This was a twin in a row of maybe 10 homes in Westchester Borough. And that was a 2-bed, 2-bath, completely renovated, turnkey. And myself and my roommate ended up moving in there. So he had one side, I had the other. And it was great because it was at the end of Gay Street, so you could pretty much walk everywhere. That had 2 off-street parking spots. And then they started renovating each individual row home along the line of that row. So my property value increased as they did more work further down.
Love it.
So I ended up signing that a little bit over 2 years later. Of course, that was, tax-free because I lived there.
Because you live there.
And then I had a 4-plex in Birdsboro that I bought That was an on-market deal that I reached out. It was for sale by owner. And I told him what I wanted to do. I was getting into rentals. We talked about it. And I was like, hey, would you be interested in carrying the financing for a little while? So I ended up putting 50 cash down and he held the remainder. I think I paid like 450,000-ish for that. And that was turnkey fourplex, which was fantastic for cash flow.
Hell yeah.
Like way better than singles. Because I had made the mistake on that first rental. I was like, I'm going to renovate this thing and then I'll just sell it. Well, I've renovated it myself with my dad on the weekends. And it took 9 months to renovate that. And it was vacant for 9 months.
Yep.
So lots of holding costs, lots of unexpected things that we had to fix when you're renovating. I was like, this shit sucks. Mm-hmm. I'm done with trying to do renovations myself. So that was my last renovation. I will not do that again.
First and last.
And last. It was not fun.
Did you have any previous experience like doing any things like in the trades prior to that? Or did your dad?
Some. I had very minimal, like all stuff I learned from my dad. He's been a contractor for 40 years. So it was great to have him there, but he lives in New Jersey. So it's like 2-hour drive for him to come down. Then we'd work for the weekend. And then he would go home and the project would sit for 5 days. Then he'd come back on the weekend and we'd do it again. And it's just so slow getting stuff done. I did learn a lot and it was nice to spend time with him, but boy, those holding costs add up and it hurt my market timing for sure.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. So now you got the fourplex and everything. And so what year is this around? Like,
I should have wrote all this down, but
I'm bad at timelines myself.
First rental was 2016. I want to say I bought the 2-bed North Wayne Street in 2018-ish. And then I bought that fourplex very shortly after that.
Okay.
And then my dad did a couple flips. So I was an LP on his 3 flips in New Jersey. So he and my cousin would buy them, or they'd find them, they'd renovate them, and I would just write a check, which is way easier than doing the renovation yourself.
Yeah.
I was like, I could get along with this project.
Okay.
So they would do everything, and then they just send money back. I'd be like, okay, I'm in. So that was nice because I had someone I could trust that knew what they were doing, that would source their own deals, just find them through word of mouth and pick them up off market, renovate them, and flip them off.
Wow. Okay. So that was, that was a light bulb moment, right?
Way easier. I was like, man, this check writing stuff, I can get behind this.
Yeah. But unfortunately limited by capital, right? It's like if I started with $10 million, this would be easy, right? But
yeah, we were using our own money at the time. Now I have like private lenders that I would reach out to, but it was a different time.
For sure. So how many deals did you do like that?
I think we did 3.
3? Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So then I ended up meeting my coaches that do mobile home parks. And I went to their event. They had a 4-day event and they went from top to bottom, how they find them, how they buy them, how they finance them, operate them, turn them around, refinance, and then do it again. And they put their numbers on the board. I was like, this is insane.
Yeah.
If they have, I want to say they had like 1,400 lots at the time. And if they just did like a $10 rent raise a year, that's $14,000 in net revenue by clicking a button.
It's a big deal.
I was like, man, this is crazy. I got to really learn more about this. So that sparked more desire to go towards that path. So after that, I had ended up selling off everything else and rolling all my money into my first mobile home park.
Wow. Okay. So pause there a second. So how did you meet this coach for the mobile home park stuff?
So I actually saw them online. They were posting stuff. They were just living their life, showing their story. And I would just follow them. And they were doing a couple webinars. And I jumped on some webinars and just listened to what they were doing. I was like, man, these guys are really like in the business, actively buying, actively managing, really involved. And they're doing great and super insightful. They're very helpful in getting me started. And I just learned so much from them.
Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. So how long were you like kind of in that learning education phase before you decided I'm going to sell all my other stuff and I'm going all in?
After that event.
Yeah. Okay.
I knew that
so that's quick, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if I didn't take action right after that, it would have sat and then I would have got scared and cold feet and then probably never took action.
Yeah.
And so I knew that I needed to do it right now And this is when I have the most momentum, the most excitement to go do it. So I had to do it right after there. So as soon as that ended, I started reaching out to brokers and just finding stuff on market and just making offers, sending LOIs out and just trying to get a deal that made sense, that fit that buy box that they created.
Wow.
And what works for their process.
Okay. So let's talk through that. So like the marketing for a mobile home park, like what is it that you're targeting when you're trying to do that outreach?
So you're looking for something that has value that could be added to it. So you're looking for under rented, you're looking for vacant lots that you could infill, which it's very difficult to infill lots, but that is possible to generate more revenue doing that.
Okay.
You're looking for owners that aren't billing back any utilities like water, sewer, trash. They're not billing it back to the residents.
How can you even find out any of this information?
When you reach out to the broker, you're asking for the rent roll and then their profit and loss statement or their T12.
Okay.
So you're looking at their trailing 12 months of expenses so you can see what the owner's paying. And then you're asking for the rent roll so you can see what they're charging in lot rent.
Got it.
So then you know how much is this thing generating, how much is it costing the owner, and then where can I increase
value. Okay.
Yes.
But so you weren't going direct to seller, you were going direct to brokers of properties that were already listed.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Understood.
Yeah, so at the time I was using Crexy and LoopNet, which is like the commercial MLSs, and brokers had their properties listed. I would just reach out like, hey, I'm Karl, I'm interested in buying this mobile home park. Do you have more information about it? Can I have the rent roll in the T12? And they just shoot it over on email and you'd underwrite it and see, is there more value that I could add to this? Because you're basically trying to burr a mobile home park.
Right.
And so you need something that comes in where you're buying it less than 70% of what it would be on the refinance. So that way you can get a new loan. So that's really what I was looking for is like, can these things, are they undervalued enough at the time that I can push the rents up, bill some utilities back, and then refinance later down the road?
Dude, I love that. I love that. So many questions with that. Like, all right, so first, location. Were you kind of trying to stay like in a 50-mile radius of where you lived, or you were like, hey, I'll look anywhere in the country?
I was trying to stay close. So I had my little map set on Pennsylvania, and I was like, oh, okay, there's not enough deals here. Let me scroll a little farther. Ended up in Ohio.
Okay.
And that's where my first deal was.
Okay.
I had never been to this location before. I just found it on there. It made sense on paper because it was under rented. They weren't billing back utilities. It was mismanaged at the time. They just weren't doing anything with it. They was just kind of hanging out.
Okay.
So I underwrote. I was like, man, this thing is fantastic. And no one made any offers on it. So I reached out. I made an offer. I think they had it listed for $525.
Okay.
It was a 39-unit park, 28 occupied. 6 homes had to be torn down because they were uninhabitable. And I offered to do a bank loan at 75%, and the seller would carry $110,000 for a year.
Okay.
And that's how I got that first deal.
Really?
So it was a partial seller finance and partial bank loan.
Nice. So did you have any cash out of pocket, like from settlement or anything?
Yeah, I want to say it was like $15,000 in cash to close, plus the renovation budget was out of pocket.
Okay.
I did have some private lenders come in as like a renovation budget. So a couple of my coworkers came in like, hey, we see what you're doing. We're interested because you're like flying to Ohio to go do this project. I was like, well, I'll pay you guys 12% interest if you're interested. And guys would put money in and then we go and do this project. So they were my little private lending squad, which was great to get some of the renovations done because there was a lot that had to be done. It was definitely a rough park at the time.
Dude, that's awesome. So what year was this?
This was last year. This was April of 2024.
Got it.
And I was still working at the time. So I was taking vacation time and flying to Ohio to do real estate projects. Other people are going to the beach and I'm flying to the middle of a corn state to go renovate a mobile home park.
So where in Ohio?
This is in Worcester. This is like an hour south of Cleveland.
Okay, got it.
But it's a great town. There's a college there. Once I got there, I was like, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
What a nice little town, little coffee shops, restaurants. So there's definitely something to it.
So timeline with you traveling out there, were you already under contract?
Yes.
Okay.
So I put it under contract at a 30-day inspection period. So I flew out there during the inspection period and walked the park. We did a leak detection. That way, in case there's any leaking pipes under the homes, you're responsible for that.
Sure.
As the park owner. So that was definitely a concern because there's a well and a wastewater treatment plant.
Okay.
So those were big deals at the time of like, what am I getting myself into? I got to make sure that everything's functional during due diligence.
Yeah, wastewater treatment plant. That in itself sounds expensive.
It is expensive if it breaks or completely becomes destroyed somehow. But it's basically just a big concrete pit in the ground that all the sewage flows down, and then the community treats it with an operator. So a third-party operator comes in, puts chemicals, and makes sure all the motors and stuff are working, and it pumps it in the different tanks, and then filters it through sand, and it's clean water at the end.
It's a giant septic system.
It's a big, giant septic system.
Okay.
It gets pumped out quarterly, and so far, so good. We've had like repairs of like blower motors and belts and stuff, but nothing crazy.
So that park specifically, how long had been there in the past?
When was it first built?
Yeah.
Early 1940s, it was constructed.
Wow. Okay. Gotcha.
So the homes were very close together, and they were all single wides. So that became a problem when we tore down the old houses that we ripped out that were not habitable. When we went to put new ones in, the new ones are significantly larger than these old like 1960 homes, which are maybe 8 to 10 feet wide. The new homes, we're talking 14-ish feet wide, maybe more.
Yep.
And 70 feet long. Tough to squeeze those in there. So we ended up losing one of the lots because the new homes were just so big.
So much bigger.
That we had to space them differently.
Got it.
You can't have them too close together because you want to reduce the fire risk.
Got it.
So we ended up having to cut a lot or two out just to fit these new homes in. Because I bought 4 homes and brought those in to refill the lots that we had cleaned up.
How many had you torn down or?
I want to say it was either 5 or 6 homes that we tore down.
Okay.
And we just took a machine, crushed them up, and stuck them in a dumpster, cut up the steel, scrapped it. My park manager, who came with the park, him and his wife had lived there for 20 years, and they've been the on-site manager, kind of just collecting rent and posting notices, going to court. And he's super handy. So it was great. I had him running a skid steer. We were ripping down homes.
I love it.
My dad flew out, and we stayed there for a week. He ran the excavator and just crushed up these homes.
That's fun. That's fun right there, man.
It was a good time. That was way easier than doing the renovation of the other house.
Touche. Well, and anytime you're operating equipment, it's fun, man.
Yeah.
Like, crushing a home, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. And the community liked it because no one had cared about this community for a long time. And we took over, and pretty much that week, we came in, machines are here, dumpsters are here, trash is getting picked up.
See changes happening.
Big changes.
Yep.
So neighbors would come out and be like, hey, what are you guys doing? We're like, oh, we're removing these homes. Like, oh, thank you so much. We've had people just breaking into them and people living in them that shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And just trash all over the place. So they saw us really putting a lot back into the community. And people would come out and they're like, hey, can I throw stuff in your dumpster? I was like, yeah. Anybody that wants to throw out trash, just throw it on in there. We're paying for it anyway. Might as well fill it up.
Yeah.
So we did that community cleanup. We would go door to door and just, hey, do you want to get rid of anything? Throw it in the skid steer and then just dump it. So the community thought it was great.
That's awesome.
It was a very good introduction for us to the community because we're going to do a rent raise. So they're not going to be happy about it.
Right.
But we're showing that we actually care.
All right. So tell me the numbers again. So it was how many units when you bought it?
It was a 39-unit park with 28 occupied.
Okay.
And then those 6 vacant homes. They were park owned. So we had the titles and we had to rip them down.
Okay. And you said you bought 4 new and just brought them in?
They were used. So my park manager, his wife, Kim, actually found them on Facebook Marketplace. She's
Really?
like, hey.
That's crazy to even think about,
great.
man.
So she reached out to me. She's like, hey, I found these 4 homes. This farmer wants to get rid of them because he wants to farm the land. And he's like, he wants to just sell them off to someone that'll buy them all. I was like, well, go look at them, see if they're any good.
Yeah.
She went out there with Mike and they walked the homes. They took some skirting off. They checked underneath. Like, these homes are pretty good, pretty livable. So we bought those homes for cash, had them moved over, set in the park. We did have to do some lot prep. So I had to do all new electric. All the new homes require at least 100 amp. So we had to do new service, new meter backers, new breakers, new lines. That was all park expenses. New concrete, because you have to put a foundation for the home to sit on.
Got it.
And then you have to have a licensed mover move the home. and then a licensed setter set the home, skirt it, and then Mike did the decks. So we got those things all set. We're finishing final inspections here momentarily, and hopefully we'll be. We have people that already bought them. They just are waiting to move in.
Okay, so that was going to be my next question is like the business model as a whole, out of those like 39 units that you said were there originally, you said some of them you did have titles for, right? Like all the ones that you were getting rid of some of the other units were some of those actually owned by people and they were just paying lot rent?
Yes. Yeah, okay. Preferably your park is all tenant owned because then the owners do all the maintenance. It's their home. They take care of it. If the roof is leaking, they fix it or should be fixing it. But preferably that's what you want is all tenant-owned home community because the bank will only lend on lot rent.
Yeah, because that's where my head was going next. Yes. Like even going back to you saying you got 75% finance from the bank was going to be my question of does the bank look less favorably upon that? But that kind of answers it.
Yeah, so they will only underwrite you on lot rent. At least a bank that knows what they're doing.
Okay.
And if you have, let's say you have a park-owned home, you're getting $1,000 a month in rent. They will take just the lot rent, which may be $500. So you can't count that full $1,000 towards your valuation. So that's a big mistake they do when they're underwriting a mobile home park. They see, park-owned homes as a good thing, and they see that whole rental amount, and then they apply a cap rate to it. And that's how you get burned trying to buy a park, especially on your first one, if you don't know that the bank's not going to lend on that.
Got it. Wow.
So you have to know what the lot rents are and subtract those out and then put a cap rate on that. And the home income, they may use it towards your DSCR, they may not. But it's just extra income coming in.
So what other expenses do you have?
So I have the well. I have the electric for the well. I have the operator that tests the water for the well. I have the operator that does the sewage. And I have streetlights, snowplow, some grass, like common area grass.
Okay.
And
how big's the parcel?
It's 12 acres.
Okay. So that's a lot of grass, man. That's not a little bit of grass.
It is. But most of that is wooded. It kind of slopes downward, grades toward the highway. So the usable area is maybe 4 acres.
Which brings my next question. Do you have the ability to expand it if you wanted?
You could, but the cost and the red tape to expand it is significant. It's just easier for me to go find a new park and just buy another park.
Okay. Got it.
Unless it's really the township's super excited about your mobile home park. Usually they're not. So it's a lot harder to do development. I personally would rather have cash flow day one than the length and time of cash invested into a development project.
That makes sense. I fully agree. And I tell people all the time, like that's one of the number one things I hate, even with flipping residential houses and everything, is like all the red tape. I was just telling you some of the crap that I dealt with here. You know, it's like it took me 8 months to get permits. I hate the red tape involved.
Correct.
So frustrating.
So I just skipped that part. If someone's like, hey, I got this great development project, poop, don't even look at it. It's
not for you.
It's not for me. I buy 5 to 70 units, C-class mobile home parks with value add.
Okay.
So I know my buy box. I know what I'm looking for, and I stay in that lane. I think that's important. Some people are like, ooh, flipping, rentals, mobile home parks, self-storage, development. They can't make up their mind what they're doing.
Yep. Grass is greener, man. Right. Grass is greener.
But then it stalls out their progress because they never do anything fully, and they just kind of jump from piece to piece to piece, and they don't go all in. I think that's more important to understand what you want your life to look like and buying an asset that makes sense for that lifestyle.
Fully agree. I think that's a beautiful philosophy, well stated. So more questions on like the deal structure and everything, right? So, all right. So timeline, you buy this April of 2024. And how long did it take to bring in those 4 other units?
It took forever because I couldn't find good contractors that were licensed to actually move the homes.
Got it.
So finding a licensed mover, licensed setter is rough.
I feel like that's got to be expensive too, right?
It is.
To move a home?
Yeah, it's like $2,000 easy just to move it.
Okay.
Plus another 6 to set it.
Wow.
Plus you have your concrete work and your electrical work. So you're probably in 12 to 15 grand by the time you get that home fully set, decked, skirted, cost of the permits, everything done.
Got it.
Plus the home cost.
Got it.
So,
and what do they cost roughly? I know you said that they were used and everything.
It depends. I've been trying to source ones between 5 to 10,000 per home. So it's relatively cheap.
Yeah.
They're not like fantastic homes, but you can clean them up, you paint them, you do some sheetrock work, you put new flooring, and they're pretty much nice.
Okay.
They're only 600 square feet or so. So it's not a lot of space to fix up.
Yep. I like that.
So, and the mobile homes they're pretty easy. There's only 2 walls that are load bearing on the outside. The inside walls you can change around however you need.
I like
and
that.
There's a roof is pretty easy. You can cap it off with new metal or you can retar it. And the roof is pretty solid.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's nice to find homes that are reasonably priced because then when you bring them in, you could sell them to your new resident at a reasonable price and just do it on terms.
So that was going to be my next question is like, what are you, so that home that you say, let's just use numbers, right? So you buy one for 10 grand. How much are you putting into it?
So you're
5,000?
Yeah, maybe 5,000 or less.
Okay.
As long as the furnace is good, that's pretty much your biggest expense if you have to buy a new furnace.
Okay.
But otherwise, you're just sourcing like used appliances, putting them in there as long as they're functional, and then you're selling them probably for 20 to 25,000 per home.
Okay.
But you're selling it to them on terms, so like $300 a month until it's paid off.
Gotcha. And because I'm sure for those residents, they probably couldn't get financing on it even if they wanted to from a bank, right? Same thing because it's technically it's a mobile vehicle, right? And it's probably really rare that they actually have 25 grand to be like, hey, Karl, I have the money cash to pay you, right?
Yeah, different parks. If you have like a really nice Class A park, some older residents that have sold their big home and they're downsizing, like in Florida, they're buying for cash.
Got it.
But these are C-class parks. These are affordable housing for residents that would not qualify for a regular home loan.
Got it.
So this gives them the ability to buy an affordable house at an affordable price, and I can finance it to them, and then they don't have to deal with the bank. Because most banks are not going to lend on mobile homes. Like you said, it's called a chattel loan, and there's only so many lenders that would do it, and you have to qualify for that loan. So most of these folks are just hardworking folks that have a job, just don't have a ton of money.
Yep.
So this is the ability to give them affordable housing. So it kind of serves a need for the market.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. So thinking through that, you put 4 new homes in there. How are you marketing to find people to buy and move into that area?
My park manager is actually getting people in there. So there's actually a park that got shut down the road. So a lot of residents have been reaching out to parks in the area to find places to live.
Okay.
So they failed some sort of EPA inspection and they're closing part of that park. So those people need a place to live pretty quickly.
Wow.
So they've been reaching out as well. So kind of just timing worked out that some of those residents were just looking for a home at the time.
Okay. Got it. And then, so once you essentially have a lead, then I imagine it's kind of like a screening process, just like someone would do with a tenant, right?
Yep.
It's like you're doing credit, you're doing background check and job verification type of things.
Yep, same concept. I use Rent Manager. So everything goes through there and it's rent's collected online. It's got an online portal for both them and me. I could track everything. Late fees are automatic. Rent, you can pay with debit card, credit card, bank check, however you want to pay it, we have options.
I love it.
So it makes it easier. Plus, we could do cash payments with Rent Manager. They have like a little access card. They take to Walmart and they could pay cash to Walmart, or Walmart direct deposits to my bank account.
Really?
Which is great because a lot of guys are contractors or painters or other cash jobs.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, can I just put my cash on the books? And they'll go and they'll pay the rent in cash, but it comes through as a bank transaction for me.
So there is no reason,
No reason
they can
not to
give
pay.
you any bullshit
Yes.
of why I couldn't pay.
Correct. There's plenty of options. You can put it on a credit card. We take credit cards.
I love it.
So it just makes it, whatever option you have that makes it the easiest for them to pay, gives them better opportunity to actually make the payment.
Awesome.
And it's so affordable. Like comparatively, we're charging $425 now for lot rent.
Okay.
And the market for a 2-bedroom is like $950 for a 2-bedroom apartment. So that's, half or less. So it's pretty affordable.
So $425 for lot rent. Do they have any other? They would be financing the actual home through you as well, right?
The home is another $300 a month.
Okay.
If they're financing home, if not, they own their own home.
Yep.
So we're at what, $725 plus a water bill. Maybe their water bill's $35 or $30.
Got it.
So all in all, they're still less expensive than a 2-bedroom apartment.
Right.
And they're going to own this home.
Yep. I like it. So I was going to ask a question about like the demand, and to your point of there's another one down the street that closed down. Are there a bunch of other parks in that city or within a 20-mile radius? Like, how do you gauge, is there going to be demand to fill these units?
So you could do like a test ad. You could put an ad on Facebook Marketplace and see how many reach outs you get from a picture of mobile home. Be like, hey, this mobile home park or this mobile home is for rent at this price. And you just throw it out there and see how many interested parties reach out.
Okay.
And we did that I had a vacant home. A guy just skipped out in the middle of the night. So we went through the eviction process, got title to the home. You get that through court. You get like a new title. And so I put that on Facebook and I was getting blown up
Really?
for people that are just looking for an affordable home. So I knew that we had good demand.
Got it. I like that.
So that is a definite benefit when people either vacate their home or you end up taking it back on eviction. That home's still in the park, so you could kind of recycle it after you clean it up.
Right. Well, what's that process like? And I'm sure it's going to vary state by state, but for Ohio specifically,
It's definitely different county by county even.
county by county, yeah.
But because you're getting different judges, you're getting different timelines, like different processes. But usually they're late by the 11th. You're posting a notice. They have a 3-day notice. It says you could pay or leave. And then after that, you file at the court for an eviction. They schedule a hearing out sometime between 15 to 30 days. Have the hearing. Whatever happens at the hearing, if they fail to show or the judge rules in your favor, you get an eviction. The sheriff comes and helps them out of the house. And then you go for damages if need be. Otherwise, you take the home back through court process, or if it's a park-owned home, you just clean it out and start over.
Have you had to do it yet?
I just did 4 this month.
Yeah.
But it was 2 abandons and 2 non-paying evictions.
Okay.
So the abandoned ones, I'm still waiting
That's
on the
probably
title.
easier, right? The abandoned?
It's longer, actually.
Really?
Yeah, because now you have to file a separate form for possession of the home. And then they have to issue a title, so it's a little bit longer process. But the other ones, I already have one rented out, and I just evicted like a week and a half.
Really?
Yeah. Funny story. The person I evicted illegally sold the home to an unsuspecting resident on a bill of sale. So she charged some other poor girl and her kid and her husband for the home that she'd even owned.
Holy crap.
So welcome to mobile home park life.
Wow.
So she is a qualified resident, thankfully, but now she's moving in on an actual rent-to-own agreement.
Okay.
And I just waived her first month's rent because she gave it to this criminal that ran away with it.
Holy shit. How much did they get out of her?
I want to say it was like $1,200.
It still sucks.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Like,
It sucks that people do that, man.
That's a terrible person that would do that to someone else. Like, you're getting evicted and you're scamming some poor mother.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's par for the course, though, unfortunately, right?
is
It's like
unfortunate.
somebody that has the ability to say, I'm going to screw you and not pay you, is probably also the person that would scam and steal from people. So
100%. So thankfully, she is no longer a resident.
good.
And now we have this nice girl and her husband and their kid.
Good. So that sounds like fun. Sounds like a lot of fun. When you get a new person in there and it's essentially a rent to own agreement that they're doing, so they're not getting title at that point.
No,
correct?
not until it's paid off.
Okay, got it.
So that way, in case they fail to do any maintenance, I can go in and take care of the maintenance and I'll just put it on the back end of the agreement and they'll just pay that off at the end.
Got it.
But I want to make sure that the home is in good condition if they're not doing it.
Right.
So I hold title until it's paid off and then they get the title.
That makes sense. Okay. So $425 in lot rent. What was the lot rent prior to you purchasing?
$260.
$260. So you saw that gap right there, and that was kind of like a leading indicator for you. Like,
Yes.
there's value add here.
Yep. So I would go on HUD's website and see what the rents are in the area. And I knew that if rents for a 2-bedroom are $900, I can get almost half of that in lot rent.
Okay.
So when I originally took it over, I pushed it to $400, and now a year later, we're going up to $425.
Got it.
So I needed that big jump. That way I can get that refinance when the time came.
So let's talk about that. What's the refinance look like, and what have you actually, like, based on net operating income, what have you increased the value of the property to thus far?
So when I first bought it, it netted like 46,000 at the time in
Okay.
NOI. Now it nets like 123. And at a 7 cap, that's like a $1.6 million valuation.
My man.
So big jump. I just got an appraisal done but they gave me a 9 cap. So I got like 1.33.
Okay.
But I'll take it.
Yeah,
You know, it's a
absolutely.
huge increase.
Yeah.
So my new loan will be around 950,000.
Okay.
So 950 minus 425. That's the spread I take out in cash minus the renovation cost.
I
It's
like
probably like
it.
200 grand in renovation, but
Okay. That's
Still,
still sick, man. You're
it's a sweet
pulling out
burr.
265 grand in equity and you got more equity sitting in there and everything. And
yes.
wow. But what are the terms like on that loan?
That's like a 25-year loan, 7.5% interest rate. I want to say a 3-year prepayment penalty.
Okay.
So hopefully closing that here shortly.
Nice.
I'm right at the tail end.
Nice. I know who I'm hitting up as soon as you close. We're going out for steaks, baby.
Let's do
On
it.
you.
I'm ready.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, this is a good one.
Wow. So many more questions because it's like a totally new world to me also, just like I'm sure it is for a lot of people listening or watching, you know. What other things would you say are like different that you need to look out for or watch out for when you're looking into a deal like this and trying to underwrite?
I would say the due diligence of whatever utilities you're looking at. So if it's public utilities, a little safer. Private utilities, a little more complicated. So you have to understand that you're going to have operational expenses with these private utilities. So you have EPA regulations for the well and the wastewater treatment plant that you have to follow, and you need a third-party operator to do some of that work and to maintain those systems. So making sure that you properly estimate the costs of those private utilities.
Got it.
And if you're buying it, make sure there's no leaks if you have public utilities, a water leak can crush you
Yeah, man.
because you're servicing my other park's 55 residents. I mean, that's like $4,000 a month in water bills.
Wow.
So if you have a leak, it may double.
Yeah.
And you're spending $8,000 in a month.
Wow.
So the leak detection and understanding what's going on with your utility system, super important.
What's insurance like?
Cheap, maybe
Really?
$2,000 a year because you're doing.
Get out of here.
You're only doing liability because you don't have any structures.
Wow.
They're not really. This new park is all tenant-owned homes,
So
or mostly tenant-owned homes.
yeah, thinking through that, let's just say hypothetically in the park with 39 units, let's say that you still own 20 of them and tenants are kind of doing rent to own with you.
Now you
Are
need-
you carrying insurance
Yes.
on?
Yeah, on those homes, yes.
Okay.
But they're relatively inexpensive policies because the home value is really not a lot.
Right.
It's mostly liability.
Got it.
You just want to cover any injuries that may happen or any stuff like that.
But so in that hypothetical, so you have an insurance policy for the parcel and then you have another policy for each of those 20 units?
Yeah, so they
Or is it
can.
kind of like an umbrella?
It's an umbrella. They can bundle them all together and insure the homes themselves.
Got it. Okay. Okay. Sweet. Sweet. All right. So this happens, and I know that you are now no longer a state trooper. So how did you come to that decision, and what was that like?
So that was a slow transition. So I started buying the rentals.
Wasn't that slow, man? I got to tell you, from an outside perspective, this was April of 24, man.
It's true. But in 2016 is when my mindset shifted.
Fair.
And that's when it all started. I was like, man, I got to figure out another way to build wealth and generate cash flow more than working as a cop. So it started then, and it's now grown to this point. So last year I bought my first mobile home park in 2024. And then comes around to February of 25 was my last day. February 14th, actually, of 2025 was my last day as a state trooper.
Really?
Yes.
What a great Valentine's Day gift.
It is a beautiful gift because now I have freedom of time to go do more deals.
Wow. So much to unpack there. Because I see exactly what you're saying, that it didn't feel fast for you because you had 8 years of kind of preparing you for that.
Yes.
But it's like, it is a short time period from, okay, I did my first mobile home park, which seems like it was kind of like your big breakthrough that you made, right?
Yes.
It's like, this is what I want to do. This is what's working. And, your first deal, man, it's like made a lot of add to your net worth from that
Yes.
one single deal. So that probably had to boost your confidence a lot, right?
Huge.
Wow.
Because then you knew that it was possible. So you went out, you did it, you executed. You're like, this works. Let me repeat this process. Let me keep doing this. So that, just the idea that I knew that I can go out and do this and replicate this over and over and over again, like that just opened the door to what I wanted to do.
And you also said after that, you decided to sell all your other rental properties as well.
Yeah, I
So
sold
that
them.
happened in that time frame?
Yep. Before I bought that first mobile home park, I had sold everything else
Before.
off.
Okay,
Because I
got
used
it.
that cash to buy this park.
Got it. Okay. Gotcha. Wow, man. So leading up to April 14th, what was going through your mind? Like, were you worried? Were you nervous leaving your W-2? You'd done it for a long time, man.
I had guys thought I was crazy that were on the job. They're like, why would you would just leave? What about your pension?
Yeah, right.
What about all this money they're going to give you when you retire? And I thought about it. I was like, okay, I have to wait another 13 years of working here to get that pension. It's like, could I generate a significant amount of revenue in 13 years on my own versus waiting for the government to pay my pension? I was like, fuck that. I'm not sitting in here anymore. I got to go and just do it on my own and make it happen.
Yeah.
Because I knew I can generate way more than $7,000 a month that they were going to give me.
Right.
10x that.
In
no
13
problem.
more years.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
So for me, I bet on myself to go out and do it.
Dude, I love that. That's so cool. Shit.
But a lot of guys were like, you're insane. They're like, no way would I leave this job. They're just so stuck in that, they got to work for money and keep making more to buy more things to keep in that hamster wheel, and they can't get out.
Yep.
So I'm trying to coax them along, show them what I'm doing. That way they can see like, hey, he did it. It's possible.
Yep.
If I wanted to do that, I could do it too.
That's right. I don't know, man. I think I have mixed feelings about it, right? Like, so when I first started flipping houses, buying rentals and everything, I was the biggest evangelist, right? It's like, I'm on social media. I'm like, everybody should fucking buy real estate. Everybody should flip houses. Everybody should at least own one rental. And I don't know, man, I encouraged some people to buy real estate that probably didn't have an entrepreneurial bone in their body. And now it's like on the other end, it's like I realized, it's certainly not for everyone.
It's definitely not for everybody.
It's really not.
That's why I like the private lending stuff, because those guys could keep working their job and they can lend on the deals that I'm doing and be part of it without having to be part of it. So that was a nice introduction to real estate investing for them, because they're getting 12% interest. So it beats whatever they would get in the market or in a CD or savings account. So they're winning, and they don't have to go and, knock on trailer doors.
True.
So it's a great way to bring them along my journey.
Dude, absolutely. And what a great way to kind of segue it. It's like you're talking about what you do, and maybe it's going to inspire somebody to take action and be curious and, go down a similar path to you. But at the very least, like, everybody is interested in real estate. HGTV did a good job of that at the very least. It's like their numbers are so fucked up on everything. But at the very least, it made everybody at least interested in real estate because it seems sexy.
Looks cool.
So if somebody doesn't want to go in, like you did, it's, hey, you can still make money without actually dealing with tenants and toilets.
Right. So this was a nice way for them to keep working their job and make more money.
I love that, man. I love that. Wow. So what's next?
Buy more mobile home parks for sure.
Okay.
So I bought my second park in January of 55 lots, paid $2 million even for that. That was an assumed loan for $1.4 million at 5% interest only.
Okay.
And then I had a private lender come in with $600,000 on a second position note. I'm paying him handsomely, like 16% interest plus a $24,000 fee on refinance.
Nice.
But he's in second position, so he's got to be compensated for doing that, especially at a large amount. But this park is now worth about $3.7 million.
Nice. Wow. Where's that one at?
That's in Van Wert, Ohio. That is...
Man, you're an Ohio guy now.
Once I got one park, all of a sudden broker's like, hey, we heard you close that park. Check out our other park we have. Check out this deal. Check out that deal.
Wow.
So once they see that you can actually close a deal, now they take you seriously. Like, okay, he can close. Let me send him some deals, see what he wants to buy.
Yeah.
But it took that first deal because before calling brokers, you're like, hey, I'm interested in their park. And they'd be like, okay, how many parks do you own? You're like, none yet.
Right.
They'd be like, okay, cool, click.
Yeah.
Like, awesome. Then you just call 50 more of them. But once you have one, now they take you seriously. Especially when you start talking the language that they talk between brokers and owners and understanding the terminology.
Yeah.
They take you more seriously as well.
Dude, I love that. All right. So say those numbers again. So you bought it for $2 million. You assumed a loan for 1.5.
1.4.
1.4. Okay. And you brought in a private investor for that gap.
Yes.
So again, another deal where you're very little out of pocket, essentially.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And what was that acquisition like? You said 55 units. Were they all occupied?
54 occupied.
54 occupied.
One vacant lot.
Okay. Wow.
Turns out there was slightly more vacant than expected when taking over. There's 2 other vacant ones when I took over.
Okay.
But it was advertised as 54 occupied.
I mean, all things considered, man, that's not
Pretty
bad.
good, right? Yeah, not bad. Yes.
I'm dealing with 3 turnovers right now, and I only have 20 doors, man. So it's like, that's
better
pretty
average,
good.
Yeah. But it was good. It was definitely a tough deal to get closed logistically between the parties that were all involved, like the guy carrying the financing, the selling, the old owner, me, title company, getting all that coordinated. It was definitely, we had an extension.
Okay.
It was complicated, but it all worked out.
Why did old owner want to get out of that deal? Do you know? Were you kind of
Allegedly-
insulated because of the brokers?
No. I met with I talked to the original owner. He said that it was his only asset in Ohio and he just couldn't get any more. So he's selling this one to go focus on other states.
Okay.
Because he was a multi-state owner. Possible. I don't know if it was true or not. Because after looking through the books, I was like, this is not well managed. So was he a professional operator? Maybe. But he let me buy this deal by assuming his loan. So I was in.
Okay.
It worked out.
What were the terms of that loan that you assumed?
That is a 1-year note at 5 or 5.25% interest only.
Okay.
And that is the previous seller of the park is holding that note.
Really?
Yes. But
Interesting.
he did offer an extension after a year if I want to take it.
Okay.
Because he's collecting, almost $6,000 a month in interest. So for him, he bought it like a while ago, cleaned it up, filled in some lots, sold it to this guy, and this guy sold it to me. So he's just been happily collecting a check here for however long he's held that note.
Yeah.
And he's doing other deals, so it's kind of just passive income for him. So he's happy with it.
So when you were looking at and underwriting that deal, what did you see as the potential value add?
So when I got the profit and loss statement, I immediately noticed the trash expense was insane. They're paying like $21,000 a month or $21,000 a year in trash, and I knew that number is way off. So they also had it third-party managed, and that manager was charging, I want to say like $23,000 or $24,000 a year management fee. So right there, those two combined, it's close to $50,000 I could just cut right off the top, or substitute
Trim
some of that
back
trash.
at least, yeah.
At least trim back, cut out the management cost, and trim that trash back. Trash should cost maybe $600 or $700 a month for 2 dumpsters for 6 yards.
How would you cut out management though?
I don't need him to manage third party. I can have an in-park manager, give her free lot rent, and she just does exactly what he was doing without all that cost.
Okay.
So I cut that cost to $4,800 a year
Gotcha.
versus almost 25 or 23.
Okay. Got it.
So that was a huge value savings, and that goes straight to your NOI.
Hell
That's
yeah,
huge
man.
valuation savings.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's huge.
And then it was under rented. They were only charging, I want to say like $350 a month for lot rent. And I knew in that area I could get $450. So $100 a month times 55 residents or 54, it's a big jump.
How are you able to find that out even?
So I know if I go to HUD's website and look up the county, they give you studio, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom. So I know by listening to the podcast and understanding what other operators are doing, and by calling other parks, you know what the max lot rent is in the area.
Okay.
So if you call the other parks and they're like, oh, we're charging $475, $450, $430, $400, you can get somewhere in there of what the other guys are doing.
Gotcha.
But if you take the 2-bedroom lot rent and divide that by 2, that's pretty much the very max that you could charge on lot rent.
Say that one more time. You take the 2-bedroom lot rent.
2-bedroom rent.
Oh, 2-bedroom rent.
For an apartment.
Okay, got it.
And then divide that by 2.
Okay.
And that would be like your Class A, really nice park could get, let's say if you had a $1,000 2-bedroom apartment, you could get $500 for a really nice mobile home park lot rent.
Got it. Okay. Thinking of that, just saying 2-bedroom, are most of these homes 2 bedrooms, or are there some that are 3 or 4
Mostly
that are double wide, or
most either 2s or 3s.
2s or 3s?
Depending on, the length of the home or the age of the home. Usually the older homes are 2 beds.
Okay.
The newer homes are mostly 3 beds unless they're short, then they're 2 bed.
Got it.
But
Got it.
3 beds definitely are easier to get rid of or like rent or sell, but 2 bedrooms seem to move pretty decent.
Wow. So thinking through that, bought for $2 million. How much did you spend anything on renovating any units in this newer park?
Yeah, I'm renovating 2 right now. We renovated at least 1 or 2 before this to get rented because we had turnovers. And then I have those 2 vacant ones I'm going to have to renovate. We're trimming 68 trees.
Wow.
And then redoing a roadway on the one side of the park. I ripped down 6 or 7 sheds that were just in a pile over there on the side of the park, and they were just vacant with junk in them. I had my new park manager found me a contractor out there, and he's been fantastic. So I had him remove the sheds, put them in a dumpster, get rid of those things, and he's been doing some of the renovations.
Okay.
Getting these homes, rent ready.
Ready, yeah.
And he's been fantastic. So I got really lucky finding a guy that works on his own, does a bunch of different work, super handy, just like a stellar dude.
That's sweet, man.
So that was just pure luck that this guy came about.
I love that. How big is the parcel for the 55 unit?
That's smaller. I want to say that's like 5 acres or 6 acres.
Okay.
But there's a lot of homes in there.
Gotcha. Like all the roadways, are they all paved or is it like crushed stone?
It's all paved.
Yeah.
It does need to be, one needs to be repaved, but the other side is a loop, like a U shape, and that side's fine. But they're all paved roadways. No sidewalks on this one and no curbs.
Okay.
My first park had sidewalks and curbs and a very wide roadway. It's actually really nice. But this park is slightly narrower, but still has paved roads.
Okay. Got it. And you said it's now valued at what?
3.7.
It's pretty sweet, man.
Pretty sweet.
Not bad. And that's based on NOI and cap rate.
Yes.
Got it. So are you going to be refinancing that, or are you just going to kind of extend with the guy? I mean, if you can stay at what'd you say, 5 something?
Yeah. We'll cross that bridge when we get there because this does qualify for agency debt. So if you have 50 or more lots, now you can get government-backed loans at significantly longer amortization periods and lower interest rates.
Really?
So there's an advantage to buying slightly larger parks because the type of debt you can get is advantageous.
Interesting. Okay.
So I'll cross that bridge when the time comes because it is difficult to qualify, like personally, because I'm a newer operator. This is only my second park. So qualifying for an agency debt loan is going to be a challenge.
Yep. Got it.
We'll cross that bridge. I may just extend this loan and then I'll cross that bridge.
Yeah, if he's not going to bang you on an extension fee or even if you do pay a little bit on an extension fee to keep a 5.25 compared to what rates might be.
Yeah. I mean, that park is cash flowing probably close to 96,000.
Nice.
So, and that's like in my pocket cash flow.
Nice.
Not,
yeah.
NOI.
I love that, man. That's sweet.
So it's life-changing.
Yeah.
But that gave me the ability to be able to leave my job to then go do more parks.
Right. Wow.
And you don't pay any taxes because it's real estate. And you do a cost segregation study.
Real estate's the best. Are you doing cost segs on everything?
Yeah, because I have no intention of selling these at any point.
Okay.
Unless it's like 20 years from now. But mobile home parks, also your cost seg is significantly better because it's all on a 15-year schedule because it's land improvements. So a lot of the stuff you get into the bonus depreciation. So if they bring back 100%, I'm going to be high-fiving everybody.
Wow. Huh.
So it's a big advantage.
Sweet.
Yes.
Holy crap.
Significant amount of depreciation very early on.
Wow. Holy crap, man.
Yes.
Wow.
So more parks.
So thinking all the way back, right, to the coach that you found that was kind of already doing this, did he have a program, like a mentorship? Did you pay money to learn all the things that you learned?
Yes. So you had to pay to go to the event. It was in Scranton, so it was super close because they live in PA. So it was a husband and wife, Kevin and Tia Spangenberg. They have been unbelievable in helping me get to where I am today. And I did join their mentorship group. And I meet with them weekly and we kind of go over deals, what I'm working on, what's not working, what they can help me solve, which is great. Because now if I have a problem, I just bring it to the group call. I was like, hey, I'm dealing with this stuff. They're like, oh, do this, this, and this, and your problem solved. You're like, I've been spending all week like dwelling on this issue and you just solved it in like 2 minutes. Because they've seen it. They have like 1,400 or 1,500 lots at this point, over 25 parks. So they've done it. They've seen it. They know how to solve all these problems. So paying for the mentorship, 100% worth it.
Yep. It's paying for speed, man. And that's why it's funny. Like so many of the people that I know and that I'm friends with and that I've had on this podcast, like everybody kind of falls into that same bucket of we will pay for mentorship, we will pay for speed. And so many other people that don't think similarly think if you spend money on stuff like that, like, dude, you're getting scammed. It's like, I can't even tell you the friggin' ROI that I've gotten on paying mentors and coaches. And I've spent a lot of money, man.
Right.
But guess what? The ROI I've gotten on that information is so significantly larger. It's insane.
Right.
You know? And I'm sure that even after doing your first deal, it's like whatever you paid them, you're like, yeah, worth it 100 times over. Right?
Correct.
Yep.
I mean, why would you not do that? If they could help you get to where you want to go, isn't it worth it?
Shortcutting success, man. We don't have to fuck everything up on our own, you know?
If someone has already done it and shown they're successful and they hand you a blueprint, all you have to do is follow it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just do what they're doing and just keep doing it. It makes it way easier.
Compare for me owning just residential real estate rentals versus owning your first mobile home park. Pros and cons.
I would say you're getting the same amount of calls for a 4-unit as you are a 39 unit.
Interesting.
Because you're not doing the maintenance or most of the maintenance. Most of the maintenance the tenants are doing because it's mostly tenant-owned homes. So you're reducing your amount of maintenance calls, which is fantastic because that's the majority of what you're dealing with. And the resident turnover is very limited in tenant-owned homes because once they live there and own it, they're not leaving until they die, basically. So they're there for a long time. So your amount of hands-on is less unless you're doing projects. If you're doing projects, you're busy.
Sure.
But if it was a completely tenant-owned home community, you would have limited phone calls. Maybe once a week, you're talking to the manager. Because they're really fielding most of the issues.
Okay.
The in-park manager.
I love it.
So they get free lot rent. They post the notices. They do late notices. They talk to the residents. If there's a parking issue, the parking issue is brought to the in-park manager. So for me, it's kind of a buffer between the manager and the resident and me.
For sure.
So that makes it less busy, which is more my lifestyle.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm looking for is more freedom of time and less hands-on activity.
Got it. I like it. What is your chain of communication like with those managers? Like, are you speaking with them daily, weekly, monthly?
Probably 3 times a week at this point because we're ongoing projects between the contractor at my Van Work Park. We're flipping those homes to get them re-rented. So I'm talking to the park manager because she's fielding tenant inquiries about getting new residents in. He's doing the renovations, so I'm talking to them every day, every other day.
Got it.
But my other park, not as much because those homes are already sold off. So maybe I'm talking to them once a week or so, maybe twice a week.
Just thinking through that, saying the home's already sold off, like it just made me think, so your lot rent agreement with somebody, like I'm just thinking somebody already owns the home and it's there and you decide they are a nuisance, they're a pain in the ass, I want them out of here. Like, do you have the ability to do that? Just like end their lot lease?
Like a non-renewal.
Kind of, yeah. That's kind of where my mind just went.
They have leases. Everybody has a 1-year lease. And if they're violating the rules, because you have a list of rules that you have to follow, you could post a notice on their door, like you have violated said rule on said date, and this is what you did. And if you get 3 of those, now we can talk eviction or non-renewals because you're continually violating the lease.
Okay.
So that's where you get them as on lease violations.
Got it.
But preferably, they just stop doing what you want them to stop doing.
In a perfect world,
Right.
yeah, but that tenants or people in general are sometimes very imperfect, right?
That is correct.
I'm just imagining being like, hey, I'm not liking what you're doing. Pack up your shit and haul it out of here, you know?
You try and help them as much as you can. So we'll do like community events. We'll host parties where I have the manager go to Walmart, buy like hot dogs, hamburgers, sodas, and we host little parties to make it feel like a community so people want to be there. They don't want to get kicked out.
Right.
Because all their friends are there. Their family's there. You know, they want to be part of the community. So if you can help them feel included, you can kind of eliminate some of the nonsense of rule violation. Because in apartments, you get a lot of turnover. People who don't really know each other per se. So they're coming and going. But mobile home parks is a community.
Yeah,
Some of these
that makes
people
sense.
have lived here for 20 years. Now their kids live here. You know, their cousin lives here. So for them, they want to be on good behavior because they don't want to get kicked out.
Right.
This is where they live. This is their home.
Yep.
All their family's here.
That makes sense.
So if you can build the community up, you'll have less of those issues.
Love that. What has life been like since leaving your W-2?
It's been glorious.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a lot of work. So it's not like the internet says like everything's going to be rainbows and butterflies and you're never going to have to get a phone call. Like you're working, you're hustling. But you now have the ability, like I went to Montana, Colorado, Florida. We're going all over the place. So it gives you the ability to work from wherever because I could just work on my laptop on my cell phone. So for me, traveling is great. I love it and I want to do more of it. So this gives me the ability to go travel wherever we want to go.
Dude, that's awesome. So what's a typical day like for you today? Like, are you kind of very determined with your time? Like, hey, from 8 to 10 every day, I'm making new offers, or?
It's not as structured as that. Like in the morning, I woke up this morning at 5. I ate, went in the sauna, and then I went to the gym. So after that, normally I would come home and I would work on my computer for however many hours it takes me to get my work done. And I would either make offers, handle tenant issues, talk to the managers, work on the projects that we're working on, and then go and try and find more deals. So I spend some of the time finding deals, some of the time dealing with the current issues, and then some of the time just managing the whole process.
Got it.
But spreading that time throughout the day. But I have tried to get better at sectioning that off because working from home is new. Mm-hmm. So doing that with, a girlfriend at home and dogs and a family, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of took a transition period for us to both adjust to me being home and not like, hey, you're home. Can you do the laundry? Can you do this? Can you do that? Like, I need time to work.
Yeah.
Like, I still have to work.
Yep.
So it's definitely been a transition of setting time aside and going to my office and just working. And then I'll do all the home stuff or whatever needs to be done. But I definitely have to create that time gap.
Yep. I fully understand. And it's one obstacle getting over it on your own and saying, hey, I have A, B, and C that I need to get done on this given day. But exactly what you said, it's other people not understanding that just because I'm around doesn't mean I'm available. And I'm sure that anybody that ever worked a normal job and then goes out on their own to do their own thing, everybody deals with that. And it's like, for me, it was like the family members, like my mom could never get it through her head. It's like, oh, well, Drew works for himself. He can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants. It's like, no, I have a lot of shit to do still. I may be around, but I'm not available,
Yes. And that is definitely a hard transition.
Yeah.
Because it's new. It's a big change for everyone.
Yep. So girlfriend, have you been together long?
Yes, we're going into year 7.
Year 7, okay.
So hopefully engaged soon.
Okay, all right.
Married shortly thereafter.
Nice. Does she know that or is she going to watch
No,
this?
she knows. We talk about it. Like, you have to talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
So we went to a couples retreat in Cabo earlier this year. It was a fantastic event. Really loved it. So we've been actively working on a relationship to grow it.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Well, what does she do?
She's a personal trainer for horse riders. So anybody that's riding horse, she trains them to get in better shape to ride better.
Dude, that's so cool.
Yes.
That's so cool. So she's self-employed also.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. So you're very aligned on kind of that whole entrepreneurial journey anyway, and kind of
Yes.
understand.
So she understands that I need to go out and work, and then I understand that she needs to work too. But my goal is to buy a farm and then support the family where we can have kids and she doesn't have to work.
Okay.
So that's my goal, to create that lifestyle for her so she never has to worry about anything.
I love that, man. That's so cool. That's so cool. What does she think about the mobile home park stuff and everything that you're doing?
I tried to get her to move into the first park that we bought. I was like, we can move to Ohio and just live there for a little while. She's like, absolutely not. She was not about it.
Yeah, I can understand. I say all the time, my wife is so supportive, but I don't think I could make her do that either. So.
No way. She was not interested. She's like, you could do this, but I'm not moving in there.
That's awesome.
But she's very supportive of the journey, because it is a lot. You need someone that supports you. And when I first started, she's like, what is he doing? What is this mobile home park thing?
Yeah.
She didn't really get it because it was new and I was just starting. So I didn't expect her to actually believe in me because I had never shown anything. So you can't expect your spouse to believe everything you're doing if you've never done it.
That's right.
So it has to come from within. You have to go do it and prove that you can do it. And then the spouse should support you, or hopefully support you.
I love that, man. What did she think about when you were going to leave being a state trooper?
When I first talked to her about it, she's like, oh, wow, why would you leave? I mean, are you sure you want to leave?
Yeah.
So she was questioning it at the time too. But the more we got around other people, like highly successful people that were doing really cool shit, she's like, that life seems awesome. Why aren't we doing that stuff?
Yep.
I was like, well, we can, but we need this asset to provide the lifestyle that we want. So the more we went to these mastermind events and met all these people and saw the lifestyle they were living and what they were doing and what they were working on, she's like, okay, I can get behind this.
That's cool,
but
man.
it took us getting that shared belief from others to create the idea that we could do this too.
I love it, man. And I say the same thing all the time. It's one of my favorite things about like masterminds and everything. And it's kind of, I don't know, I guess that there's a negative tone to it also, where you could be like, well, the reason that I can go to an event like that and see other people that are being successful in whatever it is, it's kind of your ego saying that, well, if he can do it, I can do it. But if your ego is helping you in a productive way there, I say friggin' embrace it, man,
Yeah, whatever works to get you there.
Absolutely,
But you can't get the shiny object syndrome. You can't see what all these people are like selling online courses, speaking at events, coaching. You got to decide, what do you want?
Yeah.
And then decide how you're going to get to these other places. But you can get distracted seeing what all these other entrepreneurs are doing.
Preach, man. Absolutely. So how did you kind of focus in on that? How did you know that it was like mobile home parks for you?
I think it was meeting my coaches, because Kevin worked as a lineman and Tia worked as a government job for the federal government. And I saw where they came from and where they are today. I was like, this is similar to my story. I'm working at W2, they were working at W2, and they've created this huge network and net worth and lifestyle just by doing the work. So I was like, okay, if I do the work, I can get here too.
Yep. I love that, man. And you made a comment about, right, like basically about doing hard work and shiny object syndrome and everything. So what do you feel is your internal like drive behind work ethic? Like why even try to go to buy more parks now?
I think you have to decide what you want your life to look like. So if I look Rebecca in the eyes and I say, like, we want this life and it's my job to go out and get it, then I have to feel that and go do it. So for me, that's what drives me, is that feeling that it's me, I'm the one that has to do it.
I love that, man. I love that. That's so cool. So do you guys plan to have 1 kid, 2 kids, 5 kids on this farm that you're going to buy?
I joke that we should have 9 kids. She's like, absolutely not. So we'll start with 1 or 2 and see where it goes from there.
Okay. I love it. I love it. But so to that, like, all of the real estate stuff you're doing is tying together to exactly that. You want to buy a farm. You want to have, what'd you say, 50 acres?
Yes.
In Chester County, which is not cheap.
That is correct.
All right.
So now you have a goal, or I have a goal to focus on. So I know that I need so many parks to get me to this goal. So that way I just back into how many parks do I need this year, next year, and the year after. So then I know how many offers do I need to make to get these parks.
Okay. And so what does that look like realistically in the next 3-year time span? How many are you trying to buy?
So by the end of this year, I want 260 lots.
260 lots. And right now you have
94.
94. Okay.
So for me, 260 lots equals about 26,000 net per month. So you're gauging about $100 per unit of income.
Is that a good benchmark?
Yes.
Yeah. Rule of thumb? Okay.
Yeah. So that should be cash flow in your pocket, like $100 per occupied lot.
I dig it.
So then you know, okay, I need 260 to get 26,000, which basically covers all of our bills plus a big cushion. And then we can grow from there. But that's my 1-year goal.
Okay. I love it. So if you reverse engineer that, what does that look like? How many offers per week do you need to be making?
I had a contract very close to signing a PSA on 112 units that I recently walked away from. So that would have jumped closer to my goal very quickly.
That's real close, yeah.
Yes. But unfortunately, some deals you have to walk away if you can't get the right terms.
So that one specifically, what was the reason that you said, not this one?
So that one, that was 112 units, 55 vacant park-owned homes, and the rest were all tenant-owned. There's maybe a handful of vacant lots. That was $3.1 million purchase price. He was carrying a second position note for $775,000 on a 3-year balloon. But I started shopping the deal around to brokers for loans. And a lot of banks gave me negative feedback. I was like, okay, this thing's going to be a bear to get closed. So on the contract, I needed a full financing contingency based on the feedback I already received. And he's like, no, your money goes hard, $30,000 after 30 days of inspection period. I was like, I'm not risking 30 G's if I can't get this thing closed.
What was the feedback that you were getting from banks that made them not love it?
They didn't like all the park-owned homes, and they didn't like the vacancy level. So those were all vacant homes. Okay. And they needed some sort of renovation between paint and gut job, and we didn't know what they were going to be yet.
Got it.
Because we didn't get into due diligence yet.
Got it.
So the banks were like, oof, that vacancy is way too low for us. And it wasn't a large enough purchase price to qualify for a bridge loan, which is usually $5 million plus for mobile home parks for that size. Okay. So my loan wasn't quite big enough to reach those lenders.
Got it. Got it.
So it was more of a challenge to just get it financed. Yeah. So for me, I would have tried to do it and worked to get it closed, but I needed some sort of
contingency to know that you're not going to light money on fire if you're not able to get it financed.
Yes. Yeah. And $30,000 in EMD, I wasn't trying to lose that.
Is that standard?
Yeah, usually 1% of the purchase price.
1%. Okay. Gotcha.
But normally money doesn't go hard after 30 days. Sometimes, but preferably not. Okay. And that means if you fail to close, the seller keeps the $30,000.
Was that deal in Ohio also?
Yes.
You're going to be the king of Ohio, man.
That's right. For some reason, more deals keep coming from Ohio.
Hey, well, like you said, I mean, relationships is a big piece of anything, right? So the fact that you've kind of already done some stuff there is working in your favor for sure. So hypothetically, though, if a deal came up in, I don't know, somewhere on the West Coast, like, is that still something you would entertain?
I would definitely entertain it. If it was the right deal, I love seller finance deals. So if it had an aspect of seller financing and I knew that I can pretty much turn it around, it's a park that fits my criteria otherwise, I would look at it for sure.
What are some of the downsides? Why is not everyone doing this?
There's a lot of nuances to it. So knowing the difference between lot rent and park-owned home rent, that aspect, the private utility aspect, just how to do it in general, it's not that mainstream of an asset class yet. It's working its way there. It's like self-storage was about 5 years ago. So now everybody's like, oh, self-storage.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like that 5 to 10 years ago.
It's true.
It was all mom and pop owners. So this is where mobile home parks are now. It's mostly mom and pop owners. Now private equity is coming in, and you're going to see more of a condensed ownership.
Interesting.
But I don't think it's as popular as most things. Plus, there's not as many of them. So I looked on Craigslist the other day. There's like 765 parks listed for sale.
Okay.
Comparatively to apartment buildings,
Right.
where you have like 40,000 of them.
Everywhere. Yeah.
So the amount of inventory is significantly less.
So that raises a question for me, like from a zoning perspective, maybe you know this, maybe you don't, but like, are there any new ones that are getting built, approved, or
Not in Pennsylvania.
no?
Very limited, if
Okay.
any. But the zoning is tough. Like most townships don't want the ones they have, let alone any more of them.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to do development unless you're in a state that is favorable to mobile home parks.
Is that just because there's a stigma to it? Like, oh, well, mobile home parks are,
Yes.
mobile home parks are trashy?
Yeah,
Like,
it's a terrible stigma because it's the last chance of affordable housing for
Right.
most people.
yeah.
So it's a bad stigma that unfortunately kind of crushes the new inventory of what you
Yeah.
can develop.
Interesting. Yeah, man. Because I think about that often, like even from the perspective of apparently it's a new term, pad splits or whatever, but like rent by the room and, zoning hates it. They don't want to approve it anywhere. But it's like, dude, for somebody like if I was a single 30, 40-year-old guy, I don't want to go rent a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment. Like, let me rent a bedroom in a house with a couple other guys if I can keep my expenses to a third of what they would be. Like, it's logical and it's needed.
Yes.
Especially as inflation keeps doing what it's been doing,
I think zoning is antiquated. I think they're
wild,
way
right?
behind the times of where we need to be to create affordable housing in today's day and age. So if pad splits or mobile home parks is a solution, we should be pushing that solution to the front,
Right.
not red taping it to death.
I agree. Fully agree, man. Huh. That's crazy to think of, though. Only like 700 for sale.
Yeah, it's limited. So
Wow.
trying to find one that makes sense, tough. But
Dude.
you can go direct to seller. So that's what I'm working on now is trying to reach out to other owners and just letting them know what I'm doing and what I'm looking for and trying to find parks that may not be listed.
Okay. I like that. And still from that angle, going direct to seller, I have to imagine that there's not that many that fit the exact demographic of what you're looking for either, right? Like, how big could that list be? 5,000 people?
It's not a lot. So
Okay.
right now I'm just looking in Pennsylvania for the direct to sellers.
Okay.
So I'm just reaching out to the owners and giving them a call.
Okay. Just cold call right now.
Cold call.
I love it, man.
Yes.
I love it. Any success? Any
No.
conversations?
I mean conversations, but no success yet.
Okay. Gotcha.
So I'm hoping to get one soon.
Yeah, man.
We'll see.
Absolutely.
Just got to keep making more calls. You can't measure by what the results are. Just measure by how many calls you're making.
Absolutely. I love
Whatever
that.
happens from that, so be it. But I know I need to make calls now. So the more no's I get, just keep making more calls.
100%. I love that, man. I love that. So just thinking through that, right? Your list in Pennsylvania, how many are on that list of owners?
I want to say there's only I don't have a very large list. It's maybe less than 100 names on there right now.
Okay. Yeah. That's manageable, man.
I looked at my house on a map and just started circling out on parcel and just picking out the mobile home parks and just saving them. And then I reach out, put them in a spreadsheet and find their phone numbers.
Dude, I love it.
It's very old school, but there's not so many of them. So you don't really have that much work to find the information.
That's exactly right, man. Like I love marketing. Obviously, I've done a crap ton of marketing in my day. And most of the stuff that I've ever done, it's like large numbers though, right? It's like just, data list right now. We have 200,000 homeowners that we market to. Like, that's a big list, that's massive. But I've always thought, like, on the other end of the spectrum, it's like when you have a very small sample size, like you can kind of spend significantly more money, especially if the return is there and there's a lot of money to be made on the deal. It's like, I've seen creative things too, where it's like, oh, I'm going to ship this guy a cell phone. And, I see when it gets delivered, I'm going to call you. It's like, yeah, I could spend $100, but I know I'm going to get you on the phone. Right.
Right. Yeah. So you could take a much deeper approach on that.
Right. I love that, man. So are you kind of segmenting that? Like when you're looking for those 100 properties that you're going to call, are you looking at anything like debt that they have on it or length of ownership or any other things?
Length of ownership, and if it's in an individual's name is like a key. Because if not, if anybody else owns it, it's going to be an LLC.
Gotcha.
But if it's like John and Jane Smith, you know, they're probably older. They've owned it for a long time. You could see it hasn't been traded for quite some time.
Right.
So that's your ideal candidate.
If it's an LLC, it's more likely that they're a professional owner. And
yes.
Okay.
But then you want to look on when was it transacted. If it hasn't been sold in 20 years, you know, you got to call that person.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's what you want. You want someone that's just held on to it for a long time and they're ready to retire.
Dude, I love it. What advice would you give to somebody that's like 2 years behind where you are today?
I would say think about where you want your life to go and what you want it to look like, and then work back from that. So choosing an asset that makes sense for that lifestyle, and then just going all in on whatever that may be. Don't get distracted by all the shiny objects. Just focus on what you want to do and just do it and just put the work in.
I love that, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. 260 units in the next... What's the timeline?
We got like 7 months left here.
7 months left. Yeah, end of the year. All right. I'm going to follow up with you on that one because I want to hear the success story after you do it. Love it, man. Anything else you want to share with people that, you know, wherever they're at on their journey, whether they're a W-2 employee and they're thinking about buying their first deal, or what's just general advice that you would like to share with people?
I would say... you're not going to quit your job on like 1 or 2 rentals. So that is a pipe dream. But you can have one foot in each canoe. So if you have a W-2 canoe and you have your rental canoe, you can ride that for quite some time and just slowly build up your rentals as you go along in your W-2. And then when you feel comfortable, you can transition to full-time real estate. But don't leave too soon, because the W-2 is great for loans too.
Yeah.
Because you qualify a lot easier for loans. So don't knock that aspect. So if you could do both and keep that going until the point where you feel comfortable, I would say that's a great way to get started, especially if you're actively managing your rentals. Now you have tax benefits that could help offset your W-2, at least partially.
I love that, man. I love that. Where can people find you? Social media?
Yep. Social media, Instagram, Facebook, either one of those.
Sweet, man. I love it. Karl, thanks so much for coming on. This has been a wealth of information. I know that I learned a lot personally because, again, this is an asset class that I really don't know too much about. And I'm sure that, you know, for anybody listening or watching, they learned a lot as well, because this is incredible, man. Like, you've done a lot. I know you don't feel like it's been a short time frame, but it really has, that you've acquired a lot of units since April of 24, man. That's incredible. You're doing big things. I love it.
Well, thanks, Drew. I appreciate that.
Excited to see where it goes for you, brother.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for coming in, man. Boom.